To Ismail Amiri, who will speak about the Baloch aspiration for independence, a perspective from Western Balochistan.
Thank you, respected Chair and dear friends. Western Balochistan is the westerly part of Balochistan, which has been under forceful occupation of the Qajar dynasty and its successor, the present day of Iran, since late 19th century. It stretches from the Strait of Hormuz to the south of Kerman and to the present province of Balochistan. Geopolitically, Western Balochistan is located in a very strategic location with almost 700 kilometers coastline, and its population is estimated to be over 4 million. The Baloch issue and the Baloch national movement in Western Balochistan are the theme of this paper. In a historical perspective, Baloch reader Professor Taj Bresik finds Bompur, a town in Western Balochistan, the birthplace of Baloch national rise. The tyrannical occupation of Western Balochistan by the Qajar dynasty's successor, the present day of Iran, has been constantly on increase. Reza Shah Pahlavi, the founder of present Iran, initiated so-called a nation-building policy in order to assimilate Baloch nation like other oppressed nations under his rule into newly created concept of Iranian nation. It was during the reign of Reza Shah Pahlavi that the ruler of Western Balochistan, Mr. Dost Muhammad Khan Baranzai, Mir Dost Muhammad Khan Baranzai, was defeated in 1928 and Balochistan was annexed to Iran. Mir Dost Muhammad Khan Baranzai did not submit himself to the rule of Reza Shah of Iran and stood firm against forceful occupation of Balochistan till his execution in 1930. The Baloch national movement and its struggle for freedom from Iranian forceful occupation have been through several stages of high and ebb. Baloch resistance against occupiers is well established. The artificial demarcation of boundaries and subsequent partition of Balochistan was resisted by Baloch nation. On 1st December 1869, when Bompur Conference was held, Baloch representatives led by Fakir Muhammad Bizenjo vigorously resisted Qajar supremacy over Balochistan. General Goldsmith, the British Empire's representative, was a witness to that testimony of Baloch struggle. Actually, that line is called Goldsmith line. In 1960s, some Baloch nationalists formed the Balochistan Liberation Front to fight against Iran for liberation of Balochistan. They sought international support for restoration of Baloch sovereignty and succeeded in setting up a Balochi radio in Baghdad. They fought for several years and broadcast Baloch views and news to further the Baloch struggle for independence of Balochistan. In mid-1975, Iran and Iraq signed jointly the Algeria Pact. The Algeria Pact was determinant to the Balochistan Liberation Front because Iraq withdrew its support from them. Rahim Zardkuhi, a Baloch nationalist, despite the staggering odds of international polity, led Baloch struggle. Rahim Zardkuhi and Yar Muhammad Mullazai, who was also known as Bewatan, means without a country, With active participation of other Baluch guerrillas, formed Balochistan-e-Raji Zrombesh, or Balochistan National Movement. In 1970s, Rahim Zartkoi sadly they formed the Balochistan National Movement in mid-1970s. Rahim Zartkoi sadly was killed in an encounter with occupying forces of Iran in Pahra in December 26, 1979. Following loss of Rahim Zartkoi as the leader, Balochistan National Movement, or Zrombesh we call it in Baluchi, was revived by many young and committed Baluch nationalists. For the past 3 decades, the struggle for freedom of Balochistan has been carried out politically by Zrombesh despite suffering losses. In Western Balochistan, for the past 5 years, new party and groups have been formed to fight for the rights of Baluch people. The past experience of the Baluch national struggle have armed Baluch nation with realization of the reality that the Baluch issue and Baluch national movement are for freedom and for an independent Balochistan. Unfortunately, there are some Baluch groups or parties within the Baluch national movement who advocate failed policies of incremental approach to our destiny. They regrettably committed their parties or groups to policy of integration and participation with the occupiers of Balochistan. They tirelessly dream of seeing a democratic Iran in order to lessen the level of social and economic hardship of Baluch. For this purpose, they on their part, as political parties of Balochistan, are willing to surrender Baluch nation's mere identity. Unfortunately, they are prepared to enter dialogue even with those who categorically reject Baluch as a nation. Unlike Zrombesh, they see Baluch national struggle as a spectrum of cultural, economical, and social matter. We in the Zrombesh totally differ with such misled concept for Baluch national struggle. Zrombesh is of the view that Baluch identity is of paramount importance to our struggle. Baluch identity only can be realized in a sovereign and independent Balochistan. Those who advocate federalism in Iran need to understand their fundamental flaw, since a true and democratic federalism is realized only among sovereign people, not among occupied nations and the oppressor. Here I want to say or emphasize that Zrombesh is ready to make alliances with those groups and parties which advocate federalism but recognize the right of self-determination and work to remove the Iranian Islamic Republic regime out of power. We are ready to negotiate with them and to make alliances to further the national movement of Balochistan, because we believe that we only are a part of the Baluch national movement. We all, the organizations or parties who struggle for the independence are not strong enough to achieve to their goals without the help of the other democratic forces who are secular, who are democratic, and pursue a policy of self-determination. Therefore, Baloch national struggle should not pivot around issues of human rights and atrocities of the occupying forces of Iran or discrimination and injustices on Baloch in Balochistan or economic deprivations of Balochistan, since these are inevitable symptoms of occupation. Zrumbesh has a crystal clear policy in relation to the Baloch national struggle. Its mandate is to fight for an independent, democratic Balochistan. We, in our part, are committed to take the issue of independent Balochistan to the international community to muster support. It is argued that the current international polity is not favorable to the issue of independent Balochistan. Those political parties which have a sufficient knowledge of movements for freedom in the world during last 2 centuries, coupled with the vision, shall work to overcome obstacles of international polity by lobbying and steadfastness in their struggle. Let's here acknowledge the enormity of the task. To persuade the international polity in favor of an independent Balochistan, it is imperative for the Baloch political parties to establish first that such an aspiration and demand exist among the Baloch nation. The Baloch nationalist parties with federalist or assimilation persuasions need to know that Iran, or for this matter Pakistan, have been constantly on denial that Baloch have any demand other than economic development or better assimilation. Iran and Pakistan present themselves as harmonized and well-assimilated society to their own people to bolster sense of being Iranian or Pakistani, and to the international community to prevent Baloch freedom fighters from gaining sympathy or material support. These federalist parties must grasp the fact that despite imperfection and oddity of international law and forums, new independent states are being recognized by the same international polity which they dread of approaching. It is the duty of every Baloch to be an advocate of an independent Balochistan, to resist all flawed arguments which are put by Baloch federalists or those who are resigned to the polity of status quo and sanctity of territorial integrity of states, and to stand firm against the most flimsy arguments that either Baloch national movement is not strong or the major powers of the world support the territorial integrity of Iran and Pakistan. Now it is up to the Baloch political parties and Baloch nation as a whole to show the world and major powers that the Baloch struggle is for nothing else but for freedom of Balochistan from occupation and regaining its lost sovereignty. We in Zrumbesh believe that at no time the sovereignty of Baloch nation will materialize unless we firmly advocate Balochistan independence as a cornerstone of our struggle. We the Baloch should not be in any illusion that either passage of time or major powers for their interests will bring about independence for Balochistan. The history guides us that no matter how strong our occupiers are, we should express our stand in a crystal clear term that Baloch national struggle is a secular and democratic movement for an independent Balochistan which shall help the region and the world for a sustainable peace and commerce. Thanks for your patience and of course for your oncoming support. Thank you on behalf of Balochistan National Movement or Zrumbesh.